The whole thing is controlled.
And I support recreational marijuana.
No, but that's just the point. The point is that they made it like at 52%, they made it work. At 72%, they're not making it work.
Yeah.
And now we got 10 more.
Wow.
So it's an illusion of democracy. So now if we actually, let's say we pass all 10, they could pick and choose and say, well, those 5 are unconstitutional. These are constitutional.
Wow.
The ones, so it's an illusion of you have a voice.
Wow, Mike, I wish you didn't say that. Now I see it. Damn it.
Well, Bobby, you've known this.
I know, but when he says it, it's so like
you've known this. We've talked about this so many
times. I know,
times.
but you know what, dude? It's one thing
to somebody more educated.
I know, but it's one thing to realize they're doing it because they want to, and then he says something like that, and I'm like, oh, they have the ability to do it. They absolutely.
OC, my man.
Yeah, man. They control the law, bro. They control the laws.
Now we have a ballot question to make the state tax from 5 to 4%. So if you're paying $10,000 a year in taxes, you're going to get $2,000 cut off.
Yeah, they don't want that.
Everyone is going against it.
Yeah.
In Massachusetts, you're going to see a lot of people vote against it. It's insane to me. We had a ballot question many years ago of lowering the sales tax from like 6.25 to like 4.
Yeah.
He voted against it.
Why?
He didn't get 50%.
Why? How?
Because Healy and everyone's going to go really ride against this, and money's going to come in to convince you it's bad for you to pay less taxes.
Oh man.
Well,
like you said earlier, if you're benefiting from the taxes, you're going to vote against.
She's already doing it now. You see it.
It's true.
If you're in public housing or you're getting a bunch of free stuff,
dude, you own the vote.
If you're not paying taxes, you're probably against it.
People have said it to me to my face, Bobby. This is how I live. Like, yeah. And again, I want to blame him, but I don't. You know what I mean? It's like, you should get a job and maybe you should do the right thing. But again, this is how these people live their lives and they're raising children. So do you blame them or are they smarter than us? Right?
I mean, what clue?
Like, seriously, are they living?
We're the ones working.
Is their life experience better than ours, guys? Because you know what, Mike? I work really hard. How about you, buddy?
Yeah.
Like, I work 2 jobs. How about you?
Yeah, I mean,
all right. So what if I told you, David, you don't have to go to work and all your bills are paid. You get SNAP benefits, your rent's being paid. All you got to do is vote for the same guy over and over again. Is that like a bad deal to you?
You're also describing the migrant crisis.
Yeah. I mean, me personally, I would decline. That's just not who I am. But I can understand how somebody can get sucked into that,
even if they don't want to.
Yeah.
But that's the single mother households
there it is. Or you're born into it.
No, what I'm saying is like we've convinced females to replace men in the household with the government, and that's a problem. Right, because it's a lot easier to deal with a paycheck coming in to the household that you don't have to owe anything as long as you're filling out paperwork and vote for the right people.
Yes, daycare.
The fathers can be very disposable. Right?
Absolutely.
Because
it makes more financial sense to not have the nuclear family. It makes more financial sense. It does.
But it's also, if you look at single mother households, it's where the majority of teen pregnancies happen. Majority of people get incarcerated. It is an issue because 2 parents, and it could be gay parents. I don't get 2 parents are going to be better than
100%.
Than 1 parent. Because my best friend growing up, he was living alone because his mom was working 3 jobs. I come from a single parent because my dad was kicking the shit out of my mom, and I had to go flee and live homeless. It becomes a problem on society. Me and my brother and my mom are living homeless because we're single father household. That was a different reason.
Right.
But today, Lyndon B. Johnson came up with the Great Society where you can now start having free stuff to do for breathing.
Right.
And you ever see that movie Precious?
Yes.
What a terrible movie.
That kind of shows you if she was more concerned. That little girl was raped by her stepdad and father, whatever it was. But all that woman cared about was going to the government center, getting her money, right? And didn't care about a kid being abused. And that's a lot happens. I'm not saying, look, single mother households those moms are very critical and they go through hell and they do great stuff. But they've been tricked, I think, into government replacement
this because it becomes taboo. We're afraid to touch on these topics because we're afraid of what's going to be said in return. We're not saying, you're not saying that all single moms are like
No, I was raised by a single mom.
You were raised by a single mom. So that's what I'm saying.
Yes. But my mom never, knock on wood, my mom never took any government benefits. My mom worked, she worked 3 jobs at one point. And this is going back a couple of years.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
And she did it. And so that's why I almost have a sense of if she could do it, you could do it. You know what I mean? Like my mom was an immigrant. She didn't even speak the language.
Whole different type of single mom status. Though.
That's fine, but that doesn't mean these people can't do it.
No.
That's what I'm saying. Like, in other words, we're not special. We're not we don't have superpowers, man. No. We just had determination. We wanted to. My mom, you know what? My mom came here as an immigrant and she wanted to assimilate. She wanted to be part of the society. She wanted to be American. That's why it worked.
Yes.
That's why she embraced that. So, but if you're born here, and again, it's hard to blame someone who doesn't know any other way, right? It's generational. We have children that were born into this that they don't know that they should go get a job. They don't.
Like it was like 8 years ago, they had a cap in Massachusetts. After I think it was after 2 children, you couldn't get any more money through the
I do remember that. I think Clinton started that, right? Clinton stopped it.
But Massachusetts, it was also there, and then the state overrode it and said, now every kid you have, you get more money again. So again, if you replace
promoting it,
you replace the father with the government,
and
the incentive is to have more children, and if the mom's incentive is the money, not the children, we get what we have in society, a lot of these issues. And it's like the biggest determinator of people of dropping out of high school. There was a New York Times article, it was an amazing article. It was like you are 18 times more likely to be incarcerated if you don't graduate high school.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And then if you're in a single mother household, you're more likely to not graduate high school. So we're going down these teen pregnancies, like 70% inside of a single mother household, right? There's all these things that really show you. And it's like, and again, I'm not saying single mothers are bad. I'm just saying they've been tricked into the government is the way, or men are not the answer in my life. And maybe it's not. There's a lot of guys, there's a lot of dirtbag men, beating kids or deadbeats that are leaving their kids and not paying child support. I'm not saying that, but the science is the science. The numbers are the numbers, right?
And I think as humans, we tend to choose the path of least resistance, right? That's right.
In this case, yeah. What feels less, I guess, if less hurt. So yeah, if you can, I completely understand what you're saying.
And then here we are, you end up with a situation like this. So between the government, dependency, and then audits not being done, like it's just like all this unaccounted money. We don't know what's going on. There's no like literally no accountability for anything. Yeah. And then when you ask questions, you're the enemy.
Yeah.
The big problem though is if you want to end homelessness in Fall River, the answer is to stop funding it. Right. If you want to, so for example, if you go homeless in Swansea or Seekonk, you're not hanging out there. You're coming to Fall River, right? I think when I interviewed Mayor Coogan, he said half the people that are homeless in Fall River are not from Fall River.
Yeah.
So you have Boston shipping them down here because it's cheaper, and then you have people who in the surrounding community, Greater Fall River, there's not a lot of services there, but in Fall River, you can get showers twice a week.
Yeah.
There's a dozen food pantries. There's hot meals at the churches. If you go to church, you can get a tent. All these resources ensure that the homeless come here from around the area.
Right.
And a lot of times it's, from Boston, because Boston's like, I personally think we got South Coast Rail so they can get rid of a lot of like people from Boston to come down here. Because if it's like $4,000 a month to take care of someone in Boston or $5,000, it's like half that here.
Right.
So the government now is saving money by sending people into Brockton, New Bedford, Fall River, those kind of like.
Giuliani sent them to Florida. Remember that? And
then Florida sent to Martha's Vineyard, right?
So funny. And then, dude, and this is what it is. It's perpetual. And this is, unfortunately, I say perpetual, but it seems like they keep getting better at it, right? This machine isn't slowing down. That's the part that scares me. This keeps getting bigger. The government dependency is increasing, not decreasing.
Well, it was designed to be that way.
And now we're paying $1 trillion a year on interest.
Yeah.
You know that we pay $3.5 billion a day on the national debt?
Dude, imagine that.
So think about this, $3.5 billion a day.
And who are paying?
China.
Interest. Well, China, Bill Gates, all the guys own the bill.
$3.5 billion.
So $3.5 billion a day. If I could take $1 billion and send it to 3 cities in America, think what that would do. What would $1 billion do for Fall River?
Oh, come on.
So we could send to 3 cities a day, $1 billion every day for a year. Instead, we send it to some billionaires' pocket, China, India, everyone who owns our debt.
Yes.
$1 trillion. We throw around billions and millions like it's crazy. Now we're into the trillions.
Yes.
And it's just crazy, the debt.
Well, we were sending to Iran, we were sending what? 4 million. What was it? 4
a lot
million?
of money, a lot of pallets
of money. Yeah, it was like $4 million a month or something like that. It was consistent. And you say to yourself, why? Why would we do this? You know what I mean?
Well, it's designed that way because, like you said, it can always be good. You need the balance. You know what I mean?
So the argument, you're probably not privy to this, but what we talk about it often is if you had utopia, right?
Yeah.
So like, you ever hear the experiment with the mice? They take 6 male mice and 6 female mice and they put them in a perfect environment. And after a period of time, they stop reproducing and the whole populace of the mice just died. They just because they had no purpose, right?
That makes sense,
right? So are we creatures that require this conflict? We require this because without it, everybody's living in a utopia. Then what happens? We start eating each other alive. Do you believe the conflict is necessary? Like all of this back and forth.
I think conflict is, you can go back to Rome, right? You had the Colosseums. Conflict is generated to basically distract you from what they're doing behind the scenes. You look at the Romans, watch any like the movies, they have them all out there, they're throwing bread to them.
Yep.
And then they're having people who are slaves or from other countries killing each other.
Right? Yeah.
Gladiators, right?
Yep. And
that's to distract the population. NFL football, TikTok, it's all to distract you. And now we not just distract you, we program you through TikTok and Facebook to go a certain way, right? So I think it's the chaos is sometimes planned, and sometimes unplanned, like COVID. I don't think it was planned, but Chinese definitely took advantage of it.
Yeah, so did we.
But as long as we're fighting each other,
right,
the guys that are stealing billions are getting away with it.
Right. Because, there are people in this city that still feel like everything's great, everything's fine. And what are you talking about?
Because they're doing well.
Yeah, I get that a lot. On my social media. People like, I'll make an opinion piece. Like, you'll write something, I'll do an opinion piece. And right away, people are like, oh, well, Trump's doing this. And like, well, this article had nothing to do with Trump. Like, why would you even bring Trump up? Like, and so I guess it's that derangement syndrome, right?
It's that programming. Yeah, it's
right?
Programming, like he mentioned earlier.
Well, the thing is, I get disappointed because I would love to have a conversation with you. But if you start your statement with, well, if Trump did it, I say to myself, well, nothing in this article says Trump. So why would you automatically go to Trump? Because now I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
Because, right?
It's a straw man argument. You know that how you straw man, right? So you always deflect it away from, and that's the hard thing. It's like, okay, can we just talk about this one subject? And it usually will always derail to what is on their mind, which is something totally different. And once you use but in every sentence, you're clearing out everything that was said before that, right? So it's always like, but Trump. So you're just like, it's a weird thing to me that you could like get people to say Chinese spy balloon flying over the country was okay. Oh my God. Right? Flying over all the military bases.
Twice.
Right? You have these things that they'll actually rationalize because but Trump or but this, right? But the GOP, but this. It's like same thing with Republicans. You can't just say but Biden on everything, right? Because guess what?
That's very true.
Well, what? Trump developed the vaccine. He pushed out the stimulus check. So he owns some of the inflation and the problem with that.
I said that.
Right? Yep. You can't. And then if you go, but Biden, then it's like now you're following what they're doing right there. And I usually think it's people who don't have ammunition to argue, usually like the but Trump. It's a constantly like straw man argument, or they want confirmation bias. It's like you push away all the real news for the one news that confirms your bias. And that's generally a problem. And it's hard to, look, I get it, it's human nature. No one wants to be wrong.
Right.
You don't want to live your life for 18 years believing something, and then suddenly
all of a sudden somebody tells you that, and
that's now it's attack on you, not
that's
the
a great point. That's the COVID argument, right?
Yeah.
Try telling somebody that got the vaccine that it was a bad idea. They're not, because they already got it. Nobody wants to admit that it was a bad idea after they got it.
And you got 18 boosters after.
That's
you don't
what
want to
admit, right? You don't want to own it. Like, no, it's not about. I didn't make a mistake. I didn't make
fucking stupid fuck,
dude. That's a terrible.
Well, that's why I always say I see people at No Kings protests, right? And I'm like, well, weren't you the ones making us have vaccine cards to go into everywhere we want to go in?
Seriously,
you could spot.
Like, isn't that a king making sure you have a
yes?
You could spot those fuckers anywhere.
Well, the color of the hair.
Be a little too late on that.
They got purple, green. You can see them colored a mile away.
Yeah, dude. I look at it from my point of view, and I look at the world. I see the news, and all I see is just fucking chaos.
Yeah,
I see.
But it's different for you, David. You have a daughter. You have a 14-year-old daughter, right?
Yeah.
So,
and that's what worries me.
So Mike and I don't have any young kids, right? I mean, I got my granddaughter, but that's my daughter's got to worry about that. Yeah. Like, how does it work for you, bro? When you see all this and see what she's actually going to be. Right, this is the future for her.
Yeah. There's been a couple of times she's 12. There's been a couple of times where she's like,
I'm sorry, I thought she was 14.
Yeah, 12. It's still, trust me.
Yeah,
she could be 14.
Yeah, it's all right.
You look around, and one time we had a conversation, and to touch on like more of that gay kind of. That's not a swear word. It's not a swear word. I'm talking about them for real. The gay community, right? And so, like, I'm tolerant. I don't care. Live your life. If whatever you want, right? And that's kind of how I raised her. I wasn't raised that way, and I'm trying to raise her a little bit differently to be a little bit more tolerant, a little bit more understanding.
Seriously, it's okay to say it. If you're Catholic, but Christians don't believe in homosexuality.
Well,
so
I'm also pro-life.
Yeah,
but I understand the idea of having you can have your own choice.
Right, but I'm saying our parents were Catholic religious, so they didn't believe in that.
Oh yeah.
Where we're like, no, who cares?
We were born here.
If you're in love, and dude, I'm like, as long as you're happy, everybody deserves to be miserable. Go for it.
But she got to a point where she was. It got to like, for me personally, I the trans community is a little bizarre to me. I still can't wrap my head around it. It's just not for me, not naturally acceptable. Yeah, I just can't understand how that's something that's. Yeah, I'm supposed to believe that you believe that you're a woman when you're born a man, whatever. And she brought it up, and she's like, and she kind of was hitting that she was accepting of it, and I'm like, so I didn't want to tell that she was wrong or anything, but I had a conversation with her as to why she thinks that way, and she couldn't really understand him. And then eventually she was just like, well, the kids at school, or the teachers at school, or whatever. So it's like, wait a minute, is this your thinking, or is this you heard somebody else say something, and you thought, well, that seems about right. I mean, I want you to have your own process and thought process. So going forward, when you look at the world, you look at politics and all of this, you look at religion, it's so chaotic. And these kids are going into, like, we grew up in a time where we had information, but it wasn't bombarded the way that it is today. We didn't have our smartphones all fucking day long, constantly reading shit. I get stressed out when I look at my feed. I have anxiety because of all the shit that's happening. She gets to my age, she's in her 20s. That's a whole different world 10 years from now. It's a whole different world.
I think a little differently is that we are actually way better off today than we were 10, 20, 30 years ago.
You do think that?
Oh, 10 times better.
In what way, though?
Well, okay, so give me the poorest kid in public housing. He's got an iPhone, $100 sneakers.
Is that good, though? Is that
probably
good?
Overweight.
Is that good?
I'm just saying he doesn't doesn't have to worry about food. We don't have to worry about communication. Give me someone in middle income, and they have more today than the wealthiest had 30 years ago.
Sure.
You can take a flight to England in 5 hours. You can go to Mexico, take a cruise, go to Disney. We have so better life today than we did the wealthiest had 30 years ago. Wealthiest. You ever heard the term refrigerator used to be called an icebox? Because only the wealthy would have ice delivered up to their right. Now we take advantage. We got probably like freezers in your basement.
Well,
we have so much today.
Hot water,
a
hot shower.
But I think social media makes you feel like you don't have much. So I heard a good saying I use now a lot more is you have to replace expectations with appreciation.
Yeah.
Most people's misery is because they expect things. And you're always going to be disappointed when you expect things. You start dating a new girl, you expect all these things, and it doesn't turn out
so well.
But if you appreciate exactly what you have today, and put it relative to what we've had in the past, you should have a good life. But people are miserable based on what social media is telling them, right? And I think if you start getting to the point where you think like, hey, it's horrible today than it has ever been. I think it's because you've had so much access to information. Now, like there'd be murders all the time, right? But you didn't hear about it back.
But it always existed.
Yeah, right. It's always been going around.
Those murders.
At least today they're being solved. In the Wild Wild West, they killed you buried in a ditch somewhere, and no one ever found you. Right. Now we got CSI finding you and doing 48 hours TV shows and stuff.
Yeah,
I just think we've had it. And if you ever study psychology, you know Maslow hierarchy needs.
Yep.
We have jumped up from security all the way to self-esteem and the higher levels.
Yep.
And then we don't even remember the last time we were hungry or didn't have a roof over your head.
Turn the faucet, the water's running.
But I always joke with my wife, and she's like, I did the laundry. I'm like, oh, you went to the river and washed it with a stone? No, I did it's a joke, right? But that's what we used to have to do.
Exactly, my mother did right. Yeah.
Remember the thing?
Look at Massachusetts. The safety net here is amazing, right?
Yeah.
Where we spent $3 billion on people that live in this
wash clothes in a tub with
we
a
also
board.
take care of our veterans. We take care. There's a social safety net. The guys actually living in Kennedy Park, living out in the streets, have refused most services.
Wow.
Right?
You know who said that? Nikki.
Yeah, they've refused most services. I've been in those.
Nicole said she said the same thing.
Because the drugs are still more important to them than food and shelter and stuff like that.
Day.
Wow.
Yeah. If you're on the street,
day.
The city of Florida does too much for the homeless. Just my own view. I think if you want to get rid of the homeless, you have to stop
feeding. If you stop feeding the stray cats, they stop coming.
Well, it's an industry. So the head of what's the stepping stone? The CEO makes like $250,000 a year.
Wow, $250,000
for 51 homeless people that they're servicing. So it's an industry, and if you want to get rid of
everything's an
I listened to this NPR show when I used to drive down the Cape and I listen to NPR all the time. And they interviewed a guy who was like ahead of all the funding and all that. And he said, if you just took all the money the government spends on poverty programs and just gave it to everyone in poverty, Not a single American lived below the poverty line.
$1 million.
80% of the money
is
taken in salaries and administration costs and all that kind of stuff. It's an industry. It's not a. There's no homeless problem. And homeless is a bad word. Homeless is, if you say homeless, that means if I gave you a home, your problems are solved. But if you don't solve the underlying conditions of why they're homeless, probably trauma, rape, loss of child, what caused them into
well,
that
we
problem?
kind of took that away from them, did we not? We closed all facilities. Right, we closed all facilities. Our mental hospitals are all gone. The help is gone.
Yeah,
right?
that's a
huge one.
Yeah.
We've talked about this numerous times. I mean, the process of like once they shut it down, we
moved into the streets.
Moved into the streets, had no place to go, no help, no nothing.
And then we give them a tent, and we give them.
And you can't section them. That's the real problem.
Yeah.
I did a story in New Bedford where a lady.
Can you explain the section, by the way?
Yes, I think it's like section 35. They always say section. So you can go to, say your daughter is cutting herself, committing suicide. You can take in front of a judge and say she's a harm to herself or the public, and a judge make a determination. That has become so freedom of speech, kind of like we allow people to panhandle as freedom of speech, that it's literally freedom to hurt yourself in many ways. It's so hard to section someone, right? So you could have someone who, I did a story in New Bedford, and the lady overdosed like 2 or 3 times in a 24-hour period. I think it was 3. It cost like 30 grand. They bring her to the hospital, let her go. She goes back out, overdoses again, does it over and over. Not sectioned, right? And you can go to the court, and Fall River has the little section. You can go in and listen to these poor parents trying to section their kids, and the judge is like, nope.
Wow.
And we don't have the resources for it.
So the law exists, but they don't enforce it. Is that what you're saying?
The laws become very strict.
Yeah.
And then the judges don't seem to really want to
do
get
it.
in trouble with
It's your right. It's your right to feel that way.
It's your right. And we make it where in Boston, even though it's not legal, they have the shot clinics where you can actually go get your free needles.
Yes.
And they'll even get you over
shit in Providence.
Yeah.
I used to work on Westminster Street, and on that street there was a lot of poverty there, tons. I mean, they're everywhere because Kennedy Plaza is right on the other side of the building.
Yep.
And when I started working in that area, there was always a cop, 2 or 3 cops walking beat, right? Always in that area, and enforcing these guys to beat it, right? I think it was I forgot the mayor's name, the Spanish guy, Larzo.
Yeah, I don't know.
Was the mayor at the time of Providence, and it became a big deal because these guys, these homeless people, and a lot more drug addicts, were harassing everybody on the street to the point where they got physical, right? And these cops had to go chase them down, right? Arrest a couple of them. Even with their presence there, they were still there making a ruckus. And then one day, the mayor said, and he all he did was just pull his cops from that area and said, it's not okay anymore. We have to let these people panhandle. Like it's their right to.
Will Flanagan got stabbed by a guy with 15 arrests, right?
There you go. And the number skyrocket. You want to see the aggression.
Well, have a good night, everybody. Thank you for watching the BOBYBCODO show with Fall River Reporter. They were talking about issues and with the homeless and everything, and hey, have a great night. I gotta get up for work in the morning, and have a good night. And by the way, I want to say Happy Easter. Happy Easter to everyone, and enjoy your ham or your turkey on Easter Sunday. So take care, everybody. Have a great night, and we'll see you soon again. Bye now.